Friends, welcome to our today's session. In our previous sessions, we are discussing about procedures for registration under GST. There are a few more concepts relating to registration. We'll be learning that today. After that, only will be it will be better to learn the practical aspects of registrations after that. So first, let us complete our learning of these concepts. Today, what we are going to learn, this is about timing. That means what is the time at which one is supposed to get himself registered. Previously, we have already discussed that who are the persons they are liable for registration. That concept, persons liable for registration, that concept has already been discussed. I am going to share the screen with you right now. Since you already know what is the turnover requirement for registration, just for your recapitulation purposes, let me show you one slide so that compulsory registration, what is that you already know. Yeah, these are the very turnover limits or threshold limits of turnover for registration. We have already discussed this thing earlier. So for Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland, and Tripura, the threshold limit of aggregate turnover for registration is 10 lakh rupees for goods as well as for services. And friends, for the states of Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Sikkim, Uttarakhand, Puducherry, and Telangana, the threshold limit is 20 lakh rupees both for goods and services. And for other states, Himachal Pradesh, Assam, Jammu and Kashmir, okay, the threshold limit is 20 lakh for services and 40 lakh is for goods. Okay, this is the threshold limit of aggregate turnover. So if these threshold limits are exceeded, then one is supposed to get himself registered under GST law. So this is the concept we have discussed. Various questions we had also solved in previous class. What is concept? What is this concept that persons not liable for registration? That also we have discussed. Who are the persons that are not liable for registration? Yeah. Now today's topic is connected to the procedure of registration. In fact, we are going to learn 3 sections of CGST Act, that is section 25, 26, and 27 today. First of all, try to understand. I will take you to the section 25, subsection 1. If you refer to this section, it says every person who is liable to be registered under section 22 or 24. What is 22? What is 24? We have already discussed earlier in the previous recorded videos. You can see that. Okay, if someone is liable to be registered, then when he is supposed to register? Here, this subsection says he is so liable within 30 days from the date on which he becomes liable to registration. That means suppose somebody's turnover is exceeding 10 lakh or 20 lakh or 30 lakh. Then when he is supposed to go for registration? Within 30 days from the date on which he becomes liable. Okay. And the subsection says in such manner and subject to such conditions as may be prescribed. Okay, what is the manner of registration? That we'll be learning subsequently. But now let us understand. Once someone becomes liable, once you know that he is a person liable for registration, then he needs to apply for registration within 30 days from the date. And a casual taxable person. Who is a casual taxable person? Previous class also we discussed. Who is occasionally involved in some activity. Or a non-resident taxable person, NRTP. Non-resident taxable person means a person who doesn't have any place of business in India or a permanent place of business in India or residence in India, is a non-taxable person. Sorry, non-resident taxable persons. Okay, he has to apply for registration at least 5 days prior to the commencement of business. So this is the basic requirement one has to remember. Once someone is liable for registration, he has to apply it within 30 days. And for casual taxable persons, which are called as the CTP and NRTP, they are supposed to apply at least 5 days prior to the commencement of business. Friends, you have to one more related concept we need to learn. If a person is having a unit in SEZ, that is Special Economic Zone, which is developed under Special Economic Zones Act 2005, Okay, there are various special economic zones are there in our country. You can Google it and find out where these are located. If someone is having a unit within that SEZ, the special economic zone, then he has to apply for a separate registration as distinct from his place of business located outside SEZ. Let us say someone is having a place of business in Visakhapatnam. Someone is having a place of business in Visakhapatnam, SEZ. That means for these two places, he has to obtain two registrations. Okay, the unit which is located within SEZ, that will have a separate registration under GST. Okay, so registration of the unit which is located within SEZ shall be different from the unit which is located outside SEZ. This is one more related concept to understand. The three things we learned within 30 days from the date of liable to registration. Then CTP and NRTP 5 days prior to commencement of business, and SEZ units will be having separate registration. Friends, now let us move to subsection 2 to section 25. Subsection 1, do you have any query? 3 points you have understood. Hope you do not have any query. Let us move to subsection 2. Now, a person seeking registration shall be granted a single registration in a state or union territory. This is a normal process. Normally, if someone is liable for registration within a state, he will be obtaining a single registration. But of course, we'll be learning multiple registrations are also possible. Now, if you read the next point, you will understand, provided that the person having multiple places of business in a state or union territory may be granted separate registration for each such place of business, subject to such conditions as may be prescribed. So normal provision we have understood. Let us say someone is having someone is having multiple places of business in a state. Let us say someone is having a place of business at Cuttack, one at Bhubaneswar, one at Berhampur, one at Raulkela. Let us say 4 units are there. And all these units, as you know, are located in the state of Odisha. Then what he should do? He can go for a single registration. Okay, one, he can declare it as the principal place of business, other places are additional place of business. But if he wants, he can also have multiple registration. He can have separate registration for each such place of business. That possibility is also there. That is permitted under section 25, subsection 2. Okay, I think these 2 points are clear to you. Subsection 1 and subsection 2. Let us move to subsection 3 now. Subsection 3 says a person, though not liable to be registered, let us say someone doesn't have turnover, which because of which he should be liable for registration. He is not having that much of turnover, but he wants to register himself. Then he may do it voluntarily. Okay, but once he is doing it voluntarily, then subsection 3 says all provisions of this act shall be applicable to a registered person, shall apply to such person. Once you are opting for a voluntary registration, all the provisions of the act shall be applied. Right? Okay. So voluntary registration is always open. Even if you feel that you are not liable for registration, still one can do it. Okay. Now, next comes, this is the concept of distinct person. Of course, we have discussed it earlier also, but when we are discussing about the meaning of distinct person. Now, this particular subsection says a person who has obtained or is required to obtain more than one registration in one state or union territory or more than one state or union territory shall, in respect of each such registration, be treated as a distinct person for the purpose of this act. Meaning, suppose some person is having a place of business at Cuttack and one place of business at Bhubaneswar, and he has obtained 2 registrations. Of course, he had an option since both the places of business are located in one state. He could have gone for single registration, but he has taken multiple registrations. 2 registrations are there. Then both these registration numbers, so both these units shall be treated as distinct person. Okay, they are located within one state, but they will be still treated as distinct person. Another example: someone is having a place of business at Cuttack, another place of business at Kolkata. Here also, two registrations are there. Two registrations are also required because they are located in two different states. In that case, friends, both of them shall be treated as two distinct persons for the purpose of PAN. Even if their PAN is same PAN, but GST are different. They will be treated as distinct persons. Okay. Let us move to the next point. Where a person who has obtained or required to obtain registration in a state or union territory in respect of an establishment has an establishment in another state or union territory, then such establishments shall be treated as establishments of distinct person for the purpose of this. That means once we are saying that that person is a distinct person, then that person's establishment shall also be treated as establishment of a distinct person. Okay, I think you have understood this. Okay. Now, next subsection, it is subsection 6. A person shall have a permanent account number. So, this concept you already know earlier in the initial classes also. When I had shown you a GST registration certificate, you must have observed that this GST registration numbers are linked to your permanent account number. Okay, so one must have a PAN, permanent account number, issued under GST, under Income Tax Act in order to be eligible for registration. Okay, and a person who is required to deduct tax under Section 51. This is another provision, GST TDS. Section 51 we are not covering right now. So under that, if someone is required to deduct tax at source, he is also required to have another number which is called the tax deduction and collection account number. Okay, so this PAN number should be there in normal situation. PAN should be there. And if someone is liable to deduct tax at source, then he is supposed to have TAN also. And both these PANs and TANs we are referring are the PANs which are issued under income tax law and TAN which are issued under income tax law. Hope you have already studied income tax provisions. You might be knowing what is the concept of PAN, what is the concept of TAN. Any query, you may feel free to ask right now. Next point. Of course, we know the PAN, TAN, etc. are necessary, but a non-resident taxable person may be granted registration on the basis of such other documents as may be prescribed. Here is a provision. So even if someone is not having PAN, and if he is a non-resident taxable person, he may be allowed to have a GST. He may be registered on the basis of such other documents as may be prescribed. Okay, let us move to subsection 8. A person who is liable to be registered under this act, if he fails to obtain registration, the proper officer may, without prejudice to any action which may be taken under this act or under any other law for the timing in force, proceed to register such persons in such manner as may be prescribed. Now, this provision says if someone is liable to be registered and he has failed to obtain a registration, okay, he is liable, but he has failed to obtain registration, the proper officer, the officer himself, may proceed to register such person. Okay, in a particular manner which may be prescribed. That means officer can himself get a person registered. Hope you have understood up to this point. So up to 8 subsections we have covered. If you have any query, still you can raise that issue. Now, let us move to subsection 9. Here you see it starts like this. Exact wordings of this provision we have to read. Notwithstanding anything contained in subsection 1, any specialized agency of the United Nations organization or any multilateral financial institution or organization notified under United Nations Privileges and Immunities Act 1947, consulate or embassy of foreign countries. Okay, that is one part. And any other person or persons as may be notified by the Commission shall be granted a unique identity number that is called as UIN. So these people, this category of persons, who are this category of persons? Specialized agency of United Nations Organization, multilateral financial institution, consulate or embassy of foreign countries, or such other person has to be notified. They may be granted an UIN. Okay, that means they need not have GST, but they may have UIN. This is one more number which may be allotted to them. Okay, this registration of the UIN may be granted or rejected after due verification in such manner as may be prescribed. A certificate of registration shall be issued in such form with effect from such date as may be prescribed. So, you know, certificate of registration you have already seen earlier, you know how it looks like. So, that may be issued. A registration or unique identity number shall be deemed to have been granted after expiry of the period prescribed under subsection 10. That means if you're applying for registration and you didn't get any response, that it will assume that registration has been granted to you. Okay, within a period, if you didn't get any response, then it will assume that registration will be granted. So if department wants to recheck, the department will definitely communicate. Okay, so this was the provisions of section 25. 12 subsections are there. All these points we had discussed, we've gone through all these points. I think you got a now fair idea that when to apply for registration once you know that you are liable for registration. Any query you have? Okay, friends. I understand that you do not have any query. Let us move to next section. So our plan was to learn these three sections now, section 25, 26, and 27. 26, which deals with various procedures of registration we've seen. Section 26 talks about deemed registration. The grant of registration or the UIN under GST Act, okay, shall be deemed to be a grant of registration subject to such conditions that the application or registration of UIN has not been rejected under this act within the time specified under section 10 of section 25. That means if within limited time which is prescribed under the act, the registration application has not been cancelled, is not been rejected, that it will assume that person has been registered. Okay, that is the concept of deemed registration. So let us have that idea. We need not go deep into that provisions, but this is the basic concept which you. So that means when you are applying for registration, now you know registration has to be applied electronically. So either it will be rejected or it will be accepted. Okay. So department cannot keep it on hold for indefinite period of time. If it is not rejected, it will be assumed to be accepted. Now let us learn section 27. These are the special provisions relating to CTP and NRTP. The certificate of registration issued to a casual taxable person or a non-resident taxable person shall be valid for the period specified in the application for registration or 90 days from the effective date of registration, whichever is earlier. Okay, so that means when this registration is allowed, this certificate is issued to a CTP or NRTP, it shall be valid for the period specified in the application of the registration. Okay, if you're applying for certain period, so in the application you must have specified that It is valid for that period, or 90 days, whichever is earlier. That means maximum one can apply for 90 days. And such person shall make taxable supplies only after issuance of certificate of registration. Only after obtaining the certificate of registration, he can make taxable supplies. And this period of 90 days, of course, it can be extended. The proper officer may, on sufficient cause being shown by a taxable person, extend the said period of 90 days by a further period not exceeding 90 days. That means for another 90 days also it can be extended. Okay. Now, one more concept. Yes, on section 27, subsection 2 says the CTP and NRTP, and the CTP and NRTP's registration period is for 90 days maximum, and it can be further extended to another 90 days maximum. So now these two category of taxable person, CTP and NRTP, at the time of submission of application of registration, shall make an advance deposit of tax in an amount equivalent to the estimated tax liability. That means for that period, let's say someone has applied for 30 days. Within 30 days, whatever will be the tax liability, he has to deposit it in advance. Provided that where an extension time is sought, let us say after that, he has applied for extension. Okay, extension of the registration certificate. Then he shall has to deposit the additional amount of tax equivalent to the estimated tax liability of such person for the period for which extension is sought. Let us say extension is sought for another 15 days. So further 15 days, whatever will be the additional amount of tax liability that shall be estimated, that also shall be deposited. The amount so deposited shall be credited to the electronic cash ledger of the person. You already know, earlier I had shown you what is electronic cash ledger in the GST side. So there, this deposit money will be reflected. Once it is reflected, that can be utilized for payment of GST. Up to this, I think you have understood basic things. 3 sections we have covered just now. Section 25, 26, and 27. Certain procedural things are there. We'll be discussing them right now. But is it clear to you up to this? Or any query you have? No query? Okay. No. So some other procedural things are there. So we'll not go deep into that, but at a very broad level, we are going to discuss. First of all, we have understood that when a person will become liable to register, when he should go for registration. And we have also understood that an application for registration has to be submitted electronically. Of course, the proper officer may also get somebody registered, that also. And this electronic application has to be submitted in the GST common portal, which is called as www.gst.gop.in. And it shall be duly signed and verified through EVC code. Okay. From which one Aadhaar OTP will be going. So if you want, you can try it right now. Okay. Would you like to try?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I am taking you to the GST portal now. The entire registration process I'll be showing you in a separate class. But right now, let me just initiate the process. Okay, first I will take you to the GST portal. So you have to guide me. Any one of you carrying a PAN card? Anyone if you having a PAN? Are you able to see the GST portal now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any of you have a PAN? Yes or no? Have you remembered your PAN? No? Okay, you tell me, let us say for registration, where should I go? Just see, this is the home page. Can anyone tell me, looking at here? I'm showing you the entire home page now. Here you can see, can you read it here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Register now, that link is there. Okay, and under services, if you click here, you can find out registration, new registration. Okay, can anyone of you volunteer for registration? Will not complete the registration process. Just for a demo. Let us see. Let me go for this new registration. I can go from here. First, you see how to apply for registration. Okay, now you see how to apply. This is the starting point. So if you want, you can write your name here. Okay. If anyone of you having a PAN card, just let me know. Or have remembered your PAN, then just let me know. Do anyone of you having, any of you have remembered PAN? Yes or no? Quickly tell me. Okay, no one wants to volunteer. Fine. I'll do a demo now. Just a minute. So for new registration, you can write your name. Let us say you are you can think of taxpayer, tax deductor, tax collector, GST practitioner. Okay, all these things. You can decide what for yours doing it. Let us say I'm selecting you are for a taxpayer. Okay, now state under which you want to register. You can select any state. Let me select the state of Odisha. Okay, let us say the district. So you can choose the district where you want to, where your office is located. Okay, let us say we're selecting Khordha. Okay, it's a legal name of the business. So here you can select the legal name of the business and you can select a PAN. Okay, so for example, I am selecting a legal name. You can write your own name also. Okay, once you are selecting, then you will write a PAN. But if you're selecting already PAN, already person is registered, then you can see, it will see that we'll try that. Let us see what is happening. Else we'll give a different PAN. Just a minute. Okay. Let us try from here. So I am a taxpayer, Odisha, for the Babsan Associate. Let me try. You can give a mail ID, you can give a phone number. Then this captcha code, this character you can write 705765. Okay, so it says you see existing registration. Okay, already this has been registered. This is the GST. Okay, still if you want to have a multiple registration, you can still proceed. Okay, suppose you'll be doing it for the first time, then this message will not be there. Still, if you want to proceed, then you can proceed. Okay, now what will happen? Message will send to your mobile. Okay, you can write your mobile. This thing is a mobile OTP and email OTP. So if you check it here immediately, I'll show you. Just give me a moment. Those two OTPs are required. It's the first step of registration. First, if you can see it here, the first message I think you'll be able to read is a GST India. One message has come. Are you able to see it?
Yes, sir.
GST. I am now opening that GST India OTP. Two more OTPs are there. Now you can read it. Can you remember the OTP? Can you note down? I'll be asking you again. So this is the OTP you see. 878097. Okay, this is the mobile OTP. Then if you go for mail, one more OTP will be there in the mail ID. So both two different OTPs will be there. So if you select, now if you go for mail ID, let me check that now. Now, if you see the mailbox, you see here is also OTP. One more OTP is come to fast mail. Okay, OTP for validation. Okay, click it here. Okay, open it. Open that mail. You can find out OTP is there. Are you able to read Gmail OTP? Email OTP.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just remember it. I'll be asking you. Done?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Fine. Now, friends, let me share the screen with you once again. Now you see, I can write mobile OTP. Anybody has remembered mobile OTP? Can tell me?
878-097.
But 378?
878.
So tell me 878
097.
097. And what was the email OTP? You haven't remembered? Okay. So I have to check it once again. Four 46263.
Okay.
Okay. Now you see, if you want, you can get the OTP reset. Now let me proceed. If I proceed, what you are getting? You have successfully submitted part A of the registration process, and this number is important. What is this number? This is called as the TRN, temporary registration number. Okay. Now by using this TRN only, I'll be able to proceed. Are you able to see it here? That was the TRN. Next time you see, if I click here, I have to enter TRN. By using the TRN, I'll be able to complete the registration process. Did you understand up to this? This is the basic step. And what you have seen, what is mandatory for you? You should have a mobile number, you should have a mail ID, and you should have PAN. If these things are there, then you can initiate your registration process and you will get a temporary reference number or TRN. Then how to move further, that will be learning subsequently. Okay, is it clear to you? You yourself can try. Okay, but do not proceed further. Up to this, you can try automatically. If you do not go further in 15 days, automatically that TRN will be cancelled. You don't have to worry about this. You are not doing anything wrong. Okay, you can try up to this. Okay, but do not do further without my guidance. Okay, just to understand the process, you can do up to this. Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, friends. Now, few other basic things we'll be learning. The complete registration process I'll be telling you subsequently in maybe in the next class. Now, some other relevant provisions we need to learn now. Now, what you have understood, first of all, you have to apply for registration in the GST common portal, the www.gst.gov.in. It has to be verified through electronic verification code. Okay, Aadhaar OTP will be sent to you. And this process is uniform. That means throughout India, it's the common process which has to be followed. Okay, and what we have learned so far by referring to section 25, subsection 1, a person who is liable to be registered either under section 22 or section 24 has to apply every state, every such state or union territory where he is sole liable. In that state, he has to apply. And when he has to apply, within 30 days from the date on which he becomes sole liable for registration. And a casual taxable person or an NRTP has to apply at least 5 days prior to commencement of the business. Okay. An example, suppose you have a business and your turnover, you are selling with, let us say, goods, you are supplying goods, and your turnover has exceeded today. Today is, let us say, 11th November, your turnover has exceeded 40 lakh. Then by 11th December, you have to get yourself registered. Okay. And if you're a casual taxable person, before you start your activities, at least 5 days prior to that, you need to get yourself registered. This is the concept. Registration has to be done state-wise, separate registration for each state, for union territory. And if you're having multiple places of business in one state, then one place of business can be your principal place of business, that is PPOB, and other places you can show it as APOB, that is additional place of business. Okay, and within the state also, you have an option to obtain independent registrations that you can do if you want. Friends, there is one more concept which is composition levy. We'll be learning about this later. So in case someone has opted for, that means if it's not possible that paying tax for one place of business under normal scheme and paying tax under composition scheme for another place of business, that is not possible. If one has opted for normal scheme for all the places, he has to opt for normal scheme also. Composition scheme he cannot opt for. What is composition scheme? Of course, we have not learned deep into that, but earlier we have discussed it, that this is an optional scheme. One may go for by paying tax at a concessional rate, but here they will not be able to use the input tax credit. ITC cannot be availed, and interstate supplies cannot be made. Again, anyway, friends, we'll be learning about that completion scheme later. Voluntary registration process, you also know. You also know that what is the concept of distinct person. PAN is also mandatory for registration. Okay, and what is UIN? That also, that concept we have discussed today, right? Various procedures of registration we have already discussed. What is GST format, etc. I had already shown you GST certificate. Now one more thing. This is about amendment of registration. Once registration is done, this can be amended also. If you want, you can bring some changes in your registration. And these amendment aspects are dealt in section 28. Section 28 describes, in fact, there are two types of amendments. One is related to core fields and others are related to non-core fields. Friends, try to understand this name of the business. Okay, principal place of business or additional place of business. These are called as the core fields. Okay, if you want to alter these things, you have to make an application within 15 days of the event which necessitated this change. Then proper officer will then make the amendment within next 15 days. If you want to make some changes in the core fields, that's the name of the business, principal place of business, additional place of business. And for non-core field, for other areas, you can do it yourself. Okay, online you can do it yourself. That is non-core. So this idea you should have, that registration once done can be amended also. One more concept is also important for us, that is about the cancellation or suspension of registration or revocation of registration. Friends, try to understand. Now we are going to these two sections, section 29 and 30. The proper officer may either on his own motion or on an application filed by a registered person by his legal heirs in case of death of a person, cancel the registration in such manner and such period as being prescribed. That means proper officer himself can cancel it, or on application made by the registration it can be cancelled. Okay. What are the circumstances? These circumstances are like this. When business has been discontinued or transferred fully for any reason, including death of the proprietor, amalgamation, etc. So it is discontinued and transferred fully, the registration can be cancelled. Or in case there is a change in constitution of business, then also registration can be cancelled. Or when the person is no longer liable to be registered, in that circumstances also registration can be cancelled. Right? A proper officer may cancel the registration of the person from such date, including any retrospective date. So retrospectively, that means with effect from a back date, also registration can be cancelled. In which situation this can be done? If the registered person has contravened some of the provisions of the Act, he has not complied with the provisions of the Act, or he has not furnished returns for 3 consecutive tax periods, or he has not furnished returns for a continuous period of 6 months, or has not commenced the business within 6 months from the date of registration, or where the registration has been obtained by means of fraud, willful misstatement, or suppression of fact. So in these situations, either prospectively or retrospectively, the registration can be cancelled by proper officer. Okay. So there are other related provisions, and once it is registered, then on suitable application also one can revoke the registration. Registration also be revoked. Okay, for that thing, separate application has to be made. How to revoke, that is dealt in section 30. Proper officer may make its own of motion, or may on an application made by the registered person revoke, cancel registration. Okay, so this is, friends, broadly we got some idea. Now we have understood what is the circumstances in which one person will be liable to be registered, and once he is liable to be registered, when he should register himself. What is that procedure we have seen? and how to initiate the registration process. That also we've seen. Now, next thing is that eliminate this thing up to TRN, how one can do it. You have already understood. But the next step is that step by step how to complete the registration process. Okay, that step by step we'll be learning. Okay, next session we'll be learning that step by step, and we'll be understanding that various forms has been designed, various forms are defined, these forms are uniform throughout the country, and step by step you have to fill up the forms. And if you site itself, the portal itself, you can see once you filled up a particular aspect, we show that up to what extent the form is completed. That means form has been completed up to 10%, 20%, 30%. Finally, when you will find the form is 100% completed, then you will be able to upload. Okay, so that is the process of registration, which we'll be going to learn in the next session. Do you have any query up to this? Any query you have? Okay, thank you. I hope you do not have any query. So we'll close our session. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.